Hi, my name is Phobos and you are watching A Game to Remember. Last time we talked about Bow and his amazing appetite for moblins and swamp flowers. Today I want to continue right where we left off. After you've completed the second dungeon, you are off to the third one, and that's where you truly gain access to the whole island and were no longer restricted to the west side of it. With the gained freedom there also came the need for more equipment. You needed a shovel and bombs to continue your quest. Also, there was a bow that you wanted to acquire. However, how is one supposed to pay for all that? That stuff was really expensive. So that's when Link's Awakening revealed one of its many Easter eggs. This is how I remember the shop. Enjoy. Picking up where we left off last time, we just brought Bow back to her rightful owner and prepared ourselves for dungeon number 3. However, before we could enter the dungeon we had to look for the corresponding key to open it. Link's Awakening, or most Zelda games in general, mostly have a variety of side quests, which you have to complete in order to continue your main one. In Link's Awakening's case, you not only had to acquire bananas to get entrance to the castle, you also had to enter said castle to retrieve 5 golden leaves, which former owner Richard left behind. It's basically the you scratch my back and then I scratch yours principle. Once you've collected all of them and made your way all the way down to Richard's house, you were to enter his yard or garden or whatever this area is. Looks like no one has been trimming the bushes for a while here. You know what's funny? As a kid I didn't really pay much attention to the environment of the game. I could have realized much faster that the key is buried just next to the O statue. Why wouldn't it be buried down there? Well, long story short, I used the shovel on every square possible for over half an hour before eventually going up there where the key really is. Truly was a waste of time, but stuff like that happens. Talking about the shovel, you had to buy it from the shop owner back in town. Upon completing the second dungeon, you were supposed to have up to 200 rupees, just barely enough to afford said item and to continue your quest. If you didn't, you would have to grind for rupees somewhere. Most of my friends actually farmed close to the shop, one screen below where all the bushes are. And let me tell you, as a kid we had a lot of time on our hands. One of my friends actually farmed for hours only to be able to pay for the shovel. However, as soon as you bought the shovel, a new item was included in the ship's inventory, an amazingly expensive bow for 980 rupees. Oh my god, are you serious? How long is one supposed to collect rupees before getting their hands on this item? At the time this was the most aggravating aspect of gaming ever. How could the developers do something like that to us? We just spent all of our money on a shovel, which is basically useless after retrieving the key to the dungeon, only to tease us with an awesome new weapon that one could obtain in the shop. Well, I thought to myself that this bow must be intended for the endgame and tried to forget about it. However, the next morning in class, a friend of mine told me that he was able to steal that bow from the shop owner. What? Are you kidding me? Remember, games back then used to be very simple. Save the princess, save the kingdom, use item A, use item B, jump, hit the dude in the face, nothing too crazy. Stealing an item was out of the question in our minds. How could one even consider doing that, let alone in a Zelda game? I knew of the shops in Link to the Past, the Zelda game that my brother was playing at the time, and in this game you would walk up to the item you wanted to buy and that's it. So it didn't even cross our minds that stealing would be somehow possible. Naturally, my friends and I laughed and scolded our friend for lying about another game fact. You know, everybody had this one friend in school who just made up the most crazy game stories which were anything but true. However, this time he stayed persistent and insisted that this one is true and that he read about this tip in a magazine his brother bought some time ago. A quick reminder. Game magazines used to be like the holy grail to us. They were just about video games, no other bullshit that no one actually cared about, and provided hints and tips that nobody but you knew about. Most notorious was of course Nintendo Power, but as far as I remember this magazine wasn't as big as in other countries, especially in Germany, or at least in our peer group. We considered other magazines to be more accurate. Now referring to the magazine, my friend said we should try for ourselves and then we would see. He instructed us by saying we were supposed to grab the item and then distract the owner by keeping his eyesight away from the exit. If we were fast enough, we would be able to leave the shop and get the item we wanted for free. Of course, all of us wanted to get a hold of the bow, so we said that we'll try this after school and report back the next day. Well, what am I supposed to say? The strategy actually worked. You cannot believe how shocked I had been that this is actually possible. I never ever considered that to work, because stealing was a bad thing. Our parents and teachers always told us to never take anything of other people without asking, never to steal and so on. So how could it be that a video game promotes theft as an opportunity to obtain items? Well, guess what? Of course your theft wouldn't go unpunished. As soon as you would enter the shop again, the shop owner would be waiting, telling you that now you had to pay the ultimate price, and then pretty much killing you instantly with an electric beam or something. At the time I was actually really terrified about the scene and also felt really bad about stealing in the first place. The weird part though was, after you've pressed the button to continue the game, you would still have the item that you obtained by shoplifting. That confused me immensely, to be honest. I thought I would have to return all the items I just stole from the owner. Doesn't he want his stuff back? Well, I guess in return he just killed me with his electric beam, so we're pretty much even, huh? Nobody fucks around with this guy. After this scene I always wish that Link was able to use a beam like this later on in the game, but you never actually got anything like this weapon. But on a side note, the fire rod of Dungeon 8 made up for that though. The next day our friend was celebrated as a hero. You know, back then when you instructed someone in game XYZ and told them of a hint or tip or something which actually worked, you would be schoolyard famous. Everybody would come to applaud you and so on, and you would also gather a nice reputation of being a true game master or something like that. I know, crazy times, and nowadays you can look up everything on the internet, so the magic of having moments like these is gone forever. However, what we did not realize at the time was that continuing with the shoplifting save game, our characters would be called Thief throughout the entire game. Like an eternal punishment for cheating your way to the bow. After one of us realized that all of us were branded thieves for all eternity, the hero status of said friend was again revoked and replaced by scolding like, "We should have never listened to you, stealing is wrong and it's also cheating, how could we do this? We're never going to listen to you again," and so on and so forth. Interesting fact is that Link's Awakening, unlike Link to the Past, stayed current throughout elementary school, so whenever a second grader would come to us fourth graders, for instance, to ask about tips on Link's Awakening, we would always say, whatever you do, never ever steal from the shop owner, unless you want to be branded a thief for all eternity. Yeah, good old times. Now looking back on the whole story, it's awesome to see what an impact a simple Easter egg like this could have on the young lives of so many. Strangely enough, it was really effective to uphold our beliefs that stealing truly is wrong, and that our teachers and parents were right all along. Sometimes, when we would have a dispute in class about stealing or someone taking the toys of someone else without asking, my friends and I would refer to the shop owner in Link's Awakening, and that you wouldn't want that to happen to you, do you? It's amazingly funny looking back and a huge part of my childhood, so thanks Nintendo for implementing the scene into the game. And of course there are several other memorable Zelda moments which shaped our childhood and teenage years, but that's another story. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for watching this episode of A Game to Remember. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to press the like button. As always, it's really much appreciated, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care, have a good one, and goodbye.